Hello and welcome to the Powertec Podcast. I am your host, Rob Richards. Today I have an incredible guest. I can't wait to chat with him. This is Dr. Paul Burgess, and we are talking about biological age reversal. There's so many questions. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. That's a nice intro. I hope
Absolutely.
I can live up to it.
Yeah, well, let's give the listeners a brief understanding on how we met. I believe it was about 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah,
in London. I was doing a workshop for fitness modeling, training, nutrition. You were one of the guests there, and we just started a friendship, and we've been kind of in communication ever since. And recently, I worked with you personally, getting my blood work done, and we had a long 2-hour chat about all of these different factors, hormonal responses in there, things that I can do to help improve, and I guess ultimately keep my age lower than others aging around me. I've already incorporated a few of those in and seen big results. So I definitely want to get into those. But first of all, let's talk more about what it is that you do kind of from day to day and, your main demographic that you tend to work with.
Okay. So I'll try and keep it as short as possible. So I have a functional medicine practice, which is global, and we deal with 40 plus generally entrepreneurs or executives who are at a place in their life where they know things aren't working the way they used to. They haven't quite got the edge they used to have. They feel as though they're a step behind, or it's just doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. And we basically take them, rebuild them from the ground up, and make sure that everything that they want and need in the future, so the executive function, the energy, the sleep patterns, the stress management, which is a massive one, the ability to be functional 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, they are on course to make sure that happens and to avoid the majority of the cancer, dementia, diabetes, all that kind of cardiovascular disease, all that kind of thing. Make sure that they're avoiding that kind of thing. And to do that, we use a ton of different modalities: blood testing, organic acids, DNA, biological aging, as you mentioned earlier. We'll look at complete analysis of the cells throughout. It's very complex. But once you're in that position and you can do that stuff, what happens is you no longer have to guess, or should I take this supplement, or what training should I be doing, or how am I getting, why is my sleep so crap? I want to keep waking up at 3:00. I can't manage this stress. It's driving me mad. How do I get how do I get the enjoyment back in life and be confident that what I'm doing is the right thing for me? And so we put that into a very, very comprehensive program. For a year, they work with us. We monitor them consistently throughout. They see us at least once every 2 weeks, and we get phenomenal results. Anyway, that's what I do day to day.
I'm so impressed with all of this extra data that, for me, who's been a lifelong fitness enthusiast, weight trainer, focused on my nutrition, focused on my training, I know how to pair those two together. I really feel that what we had discussed about, what we're going to talk about in today's episode, is that missing piece that, now that I'm in my 40s, can really help boost all of these other areas, especially the training aspect and the nutrition, to give me the best results. So with that being said, let's get into this biological age reversal. What does that mean? What is biological age, and how do we go about identifying, I guess, key markers and making changes to effectively reverse that, biological age?
Yeah. So firstly, it's relatively obvious when you see somebody who looks older than they really are, right? You look at them and go, blimey, you must have had a hard paper round, right? Or it's like people look at it and go, oh, what happened there? Firstly, we age prematurely, mainly based around two things: methylation and oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is the production of what's called free radicals. And free radicals are negatively charged atoms that bounce around looking for a positive atom to neutralize with. And if they can't find one, they will literally rip one out of a healthy cell, thereby damaging the cell. So we get this advanced aging or premature aging. From a methylation perspective, methylation, to keep it simple, is the ability for the body to, the DNA to tell the body to perform the task it wants it to perform. And so when methylation is compromised, that messaging and the task is compromised. So it's effectively the body, the DNA telling the body to use raw materials and produce something. And if that message is scrambled a little bit, the outcome's different. So when you look at your chronological age, right? So I'm 59 and I look at what my biological age is. Well, my biological age could be 69 because, I've had to put up with you for 15 years and it's stressed me out, right? Or I've run a business and it's been extremely stressful and maybe I drink too much alcohol and maybe I smoke and maybe I, don't spend enough time sleeping and, I've got 500 employees I've got to look after and all this kind of stuff, right? And so that really compromises your biological age compared to your chronological. So you can test that and you can test it in various ways, but currently the gold standard is by testing the methylation of certain organs. It's bonkers, right? It's just the most crazy science at the moment. It used to be telomere length, and the telomere is the little cap at the end of your chromosomes. And as that shrinks, then that chromosome no longer becomes usable. And that's what shows us that aging. But as it turns out, whereas that used to be the gold standard because it was the only standard, nowadays, there's a lot of research showing that that's more individual to the person rather than everyone with the telomere length of, say, 50 is the same. They're all going to have a biological age of X, Y, Z. So me and you could have the same, telomere length, but you might be biologically younger than me because it's an individual thing. So it's not quite usable when you're trying to use it in a generalized cohort. But methylation can be measured per organ system. So you can look at brain age, liver, immune, musculoskeletal, heart, lungs, everything.
Far more individual.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different ones. You can see your pace of aging, right? So are you aging at 1 year per year? Are you aging at a bit more, maybe 1.2 years every year? Are you aging 0.6 or 0.7 years every year? So there's those measurements as well. But overall, what you're looking at is a starting point, right? What's the reference point? Where am I at? So let's say, for example, you had your brain age was maybe 3 years or 4 years older than your actual age. Your immune age was like 8 or 9 years older, but your musculoskeletal age was 7 years younger, and your heart age was 2 years younger. And you just look at those parameters and say, okay, what are the areas I need to work on and bring them back into line so I'm at least my age or younger. So there is a group of products called bioregulators that look like these, right? Very simple. And these are mine, which are obviously empty because I take them. And bioregulators are short chain peptides that are natural, as opposed to the synthetic peptides you hear about, which are like BPC 157, TB500, and that kind of stuff. And they only work on this specific organ or specific part of the body. So, for example, the ones I am currently taking, because you have to cycle them, it's a whole big thing, and we do this obviously for people. This is for prostate. This is for the pineal gland. This one is bone marrow. I've got a blood vessel one, and this month that's what I'm focusing on. And then you cycle them every 3 months against other things. But what they do is these peptides are harvested from 1-year-old calves that are raised in Denmark, very pure, very, very clean. And they have the signaling to the body. So the exact matching key to that organ. So, for example, let's say we're taking them for the brain. That peptide will attach itself to the DNA and download its communication or its program to work as though you were 10, 20 years younger. Because we age in that respect when our DNA can no longer repair itself as well as it used to. And this undoes that by giving it the message that says, no, you have to do this. This is the program you're supposed to be using. And so what you can do over time is you can literally redo these tests and see people coming lower and lower and lower in their ages. And it's crazy. So clearly we do a lot of that because people want it, but that would be like a foundational piece of the other work that we do. But it's just an amazing time. I do think AI will have solved a lot of issues in the next 10 years, and we'll end up maybe in 15 years' time being able to choose when we want to die. I think that's on its way. But for now, this is the most usable way of doing it. And the other great thing is you can retest your methylation every 6 months on your organs because it kind of works relatively quickly. So you could probably see a couple of years or more coming off as you go on, so you know you're on the right track. It doesn't work on its own. You should do other lifestyle things, although there has been studies that they've just said, look, just take that and don't change anything else. And they've definitely seen improvement. And the biggest or the most impressive one was a much older age cohort. I think they were between 75 and 80 years old. They took one group, did nothing with them, and they wanted to test them after 12 years to see how many were still alive. And actually, something like 80% of them had died after 6 years, so they couldn't go the 12. So they took day one, 6th year, 86% death rate. Then they gave them one bioregulator, one particular one, retested, and that death rate had come down from 86% to, I think it was 48%. Were still alive after that 6-year period. And then they had another cohort that took 2 at the same time, and that brought it down to 32%, which is a massively significant improvement, right?
Sure.
So, but again, it's all lovely talking about these things, and it's very, you can improve your longevity and everything, and that's great. But it has to be part of a bigger program. And I'm very much of the opinion that you need to work every day on what's best for your health, because all we've got, right? You know that because you've had times where you've not been feeling your greatest and gone like, oh, this is not right for me. I need to change something. Everybody's the same. And most people have got this questioning in their brain all the time. Do I need to take this supplement? How do I get this energy back? Whatever it is, right? What's the best diet? Let me follow Rob because he'll tell me how to train right and how to eat right. And that's brilliant because they can get information, but it's not, it's like anything, it's generic information, right? When it's direct to you, like we had that conversation, and when I gave you the advice, it was for you specifically, not for anyone else, because I knew what your bloods were, I knew what your history is, I knew everything else, and I could say, look, this is what's going to work for you. And then bang, 2 weeks later, you got these amazing results, right? So,
yes.
So I think you need to focus on your health as your main time job. That's your main occupation. Every decision you make, every action you take in the day, you've got to be focused around what's best for me and my health. Should I eat this or should I eat that? Should I go to bed now or should I stay up? Should I manage my stress or should I continue to be stressed? You need to really make that your main focus. And the thing that pays you money, that work you do, needs to be your side hustle, because that's not going to keep you fit and well. That's the thing that's going to destroy you when you go like, you don't understand how busy I am. I need to stay up to 11 o'clock on this laptop and do this stuff because Instagram says if I don't put the content up, the algorithm isn't going to see me and is going to, no, right? I'll stop myself swearing then, but no, it's not the way to go. And when you look at reversing aging and keeping young and fit and well, you look at all of the blue zones, right? The places that live the longest, they're all kind of centenarians, right? It's 100 plus and well. None of them have got gym memberships. None of them have a cold plunge or red light therapy. None of them are owning mansions and driving Rolls Royces or wearing Rolexes. They're all living very, very traditional lives that suit them. They all eat local grown food. They all sit down with their family and eat at dinner time. They all have a purpose in life, which keeps them going. They all are active every day. They all eat less than they need, right? None of them are eating loads. If anyone wants to feel better and get better sleep, have more energy, try eating a little bit less than you are. I'm not saying you should be in a massive diet or anything like that. Just have a little bit less than you're having at the moment and just see how you feel. You'll be amazed the change it makes. So I can't remember what the question was, but that's where I went off to anyway.
You've answered it beautifully. Yeah, we've gone off on so many different areas I want to touch upon. Yes, I want to go back to one point that you made, Paul, and that was about the chronological age. So let me explain it like this. As a young boy, we grow up, we go through puberty, we have these hormonal responses, these changes in our bodies, and we go through our teens and early 20s, and building muscle is relatively easy. Our bodies are growing, we can eat a lot more, our metabolism is fast, and if we just lift some weights and go through a pretty regular routine, our body will change and we can build muscle and we can look good and we can feel strong and fit and healthy and active. We can maintain that for about 10 years. We hit our 30s, and some of these other factors that you spoke about, this chase for money, work, relationships, things that take, things that take our priority away from us. Strength training, our focus on our nutrition throughout the day, making good choices, and our focus, I would say then, on getting regular sleep and enough consistently. So things start to change, I would say, in our late 20s, 30s. And so that maintaining muscle, which I think having metabolically active muscle is probably the number one thing in terms of this anti-aging discussion. Yes, there are other factors, but I think if you aren't strength training, that drops off quite a bit.
Yeah.
So my question is, at what point do you see with your whole spread of clients that this aging factor starts to halt and almost go backwards? And from that question, what would you say are some of the 2 or 3 most important factors that they can start implementing and changing in their lives to effectively halt and even reverse that downward spiral of aging?
Yeah. So I think what you said is accurate, but the reason we find it more difficult to put the size on or, continue to improve is because a few factors. One, like you said, life becomes distracted with other responsibilities, and those responsibilities create stress, and that stress has a big impact on us, right? So oxidative stress is a big, big problem. We then start to think differently about why we're going to the gym or why we're training. Like, I just got to get out, I've just got to train, I just want to go harder because I'm not seeing the results I used to have. So let me take more pre-workout, or let me try some hormones, or let me do something else. And it's not the way to go. What's really difficult to get across to people, and I'm really proud of you, Robert, because you took it on board the first time I told you, what's really important is to get people to rest more. Because it's so hard. You go, look, if I rest, I'm going to get fat, or I'm going to lose all my gains. And trust me on this. If you're not recovering from your training, you'll never adapt. It's not possible, right? And so you can go out clubbing Thursday to Monday and be at work Tuesday morning, fresh as a daisy, no problem, when you're 19, right? Try doing that at 29 or 59. You're off for the month, right? So there's a few things. One, recovery is vitally important. 2, we accumulate a lot of toxicity in our system over the years. Mold, heavy metals, chemical toxins, environmental toxins, the food that we eat, the stuff that you put on your body for cosmetics or toothpaste or whatever it is, the just exposure to things, and they all accumulate. And what they do is they have an impact on your mitochondria, which are the little engines in the cells that create energy and allow the cells to work properly. So we get this down regulation in our mechanical engine, if you like. It's like an old car, it's just a bit sticky, the oil's a bit dirty, the fuel lines are a bit clogged up. It's just not getting the power it needs. And you're taking that into the gym and then trying to push harder to get more out of it. What it needs to go into the shop, get a complete clear up, get all its tubes cleared properly, tuned up, and then go back out and do it again. And then you can get onto that's kind of anti-aging your car, right? You service it, get it cleaned up, refurbished, and go back out. Same thing happens to us. So if you're looking at 2 or 3 things to do, the first thing is sleep. There's nothing more important. And I'll try and explain it. You wouldn't, because it would mentally drive you mad, but you could go 3 days without food, right? People can do it. And people do it all the time. They go, I'll do a 3-day fast all day long, no problem. You could go 3 days without water. And it would be a little bit detrimental, but you could do it. Right. Try going 3 days with no sleep. And I don't mean having a nap here or stimulants to keep you going. I mean, try going 3 days with no sleep. It won't happen. It just wouldn't happen. You'd be a basket case. Yeah, and that's why it's used as torture. Sleep deprivation. The problem we have is evolution has allowed us to get by on 4 hours, 5 hours. Just a bit of sleep here. I'm okay. I can keep going. I'll keep going. But the performance and the health benefit just does this. You just drop off a cliff. As soon as and this is what you did, right? As soon as you put in a good 7-8 hours of solid sleep a night, what happens? All of your recovery goes up by 10x. So you recover from your workouts. Your central nervous system recovers from the onslaught of the day, whatever that is, right? Whether it's, in your case, maybe creating content or thinking about marketing or thinking about how you build your thriving business and your service your patients and your clients and stuff. Or whether it's a housewife who's trying to keep her head about her while she's got 3 kids screaming and running around, right? Anything, it doesn't matter. Sleep is vital. So the first thing you've got to do, get your sleep right, whatever it takes. Biggest problems with sleep, I can't fall asleep. If you can't fall asleep, it means that your adrenaline and cortisol is too high, which means you're too stressed and you're not producing melatonin. Right? So if you've got high cortisol, high adrenaline, high stress factor, melatonin, which is the one that puts you to sleep, doesn't keep you asleep. The one that puts you asleep can't be produced, and therefore you like twiddling your thumbs at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, oh, God, I wish I could sleep. That's the first problem. So if that's the case, manage your stress properly from the beginning of the day. Second one is I get sleep, but then I wake up 2 hours later. Or I wake up at 3 o'clock. I can't get back to sleep again. Or I'm tossing and turning, and then I go back to sleep. And then I wake up really tired. A very common one, right? So again, that is because you managed your stress to a point, you fell asleep, but then your cortisol and adrenaline was still high, and it bumps you back up awake again, 3 o'clock. And then you can't get to sleep because you've got adrenaline and cortisol running around. And then you eventually fall off again. And then an hour and a half later, you wake up and feel terrible. And there's lots of strategies that you can do. Don't eat too late at night. I'd say don't eat probably 3 hours before bed. You give it time to digest. Your heart rate drops. You'll sleep better. There's loads of other things. Get your sleep right. Manage your stress if you hadn't already picked that one up, right? Stress management is vital. And people do not pay any attention to it because it's just life. It's just the way it is. I'm just always like, so we got
accept it as the norm and questioning or changing. Yeah,
that's it. I've just got to I had a great one a couple of years back. I always remember it. He said, I'm really stressed at the moment. Things are really crazy, but as soon as I get this promotion, it'll be a lot easier. I went, you think you're going to get a promotion and work less? That's not going to happen. Like if you've got a promotion, that's more responsibility. That's more stuff you're going to have to do. What? Right? And actually there was another one that is now to come to mind where a guy had a new business he was putting together. And he said, this launch, before the launch, is really stressful. And it was for a product, it was a consumer product that people would buy. And he said, once it's launched, it'll be a lot easier. I said, how many returns do you think you're going to get? How many people do you think you're going to have complaining? Do you think it's going to be easier? Not a chance, right? And so, but what people aren't doing is strategizing their stress management. So we have two kind of nervous systems, sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? Sympathetic, fight or flight. It's like the race car revving in the red. You like your Formula One, right? So it's like the red race car revving in the red. And we'll talk about that one day. My missus used to work for F1. We'll chat about it one day. So you've got this race car revving in the red, and it stays there, right? And it's just like not in the stomach, tense, like all the time, trying to get things done. So to manage it, you alcohol, drugs, whatever it is that people choose, or it just destroys them. Then the other side is parasympathetic, rest, digest, recover. That is something most people have forgotten what it's about. And I can't relax. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'll go on holiday. I can't even sit on holiday and relax. Oh, do you think that's okay? There's a bigger problem there then. Because if you can't physically and mentally get into the default state your body's supposed to be in, we've got other issues that we've got to deal with. And again, that's what a lot of our work is about, getting people into these states that they've forgotten even exist. Because once you get into this relaxed and everything just drops off of you state, your body is just craving that stuff because it fixes everything when it's in that state. And so you've got to understand how to get into your parasympathetic more often. And it doesn't just happen by accident. You have to purposely sit down and use whatever modality is necessary for that to happen to you. So some people do meditation. Personally, I think it's really hard to use that. This whole thing about don't think about anything ain't gonna happen. Not for me anyway, right? Breathing can be useful. You can do box breathing. There's other breathing exercises that you can follow. There's one called 4-7-8. Breathe in for 4, hold for a count of 7, breathe out for a count of 8. When you breathe out longer than you breathe in, so if you breathe in for 4, count, hold for 7, and then breathe out for 8. When you're breathing in and breathing out longer than you inhale, there's a signal to the brain that says everything's good, everything's relaxed, and it drops it into parasympathetic. There's also a really good app. I won't mention it on here. I'll tell you why, because I don't want to promote something without their consent. But it's a really good app. I use it. You just plug yourself in, and it actually changes your brain wavelength and puts you in, regardless of what you're doing or thinking or being. It puts you in the state you need to be in, whether it's creativity, whether it's relaxation, whether it's energy, whether it's sleep, and it just adjusts your brainwave to be of that. So I don't care what it is.
I've downloaded it. I've started using it. I will say this before we move on to the next point.
Yeah.
Giving ourselves the attention to take time out, I think, is something we need to actively plan for, which is hard to do when we've got all these other things stacked up. But for many of us who give time to the gym, give time to, I've got to eat healthy because I want my body to look good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this quickly. If there were a time commitment and frequency throughout the week, how much would you say is enough to give ourselves time to stop doing what we're doing, going, whether it's read a book, listen to some music, focus on an app, focus on breathing? How much time is enough, and how long do we need to do that for to get a benefit from it?
So if you're just talking about stress management, right, getting into parasympathetic, you want to try and do it as much as possible, clearly.
Okay.
But here's a strategy you could start with. So when you wake up in the morning, generally it's because your cortisol and adrenaline have woken you up. unless you've got a blaring alarm, and that's going to set your adrenals crazy, right? So I haven't used an alarm for decades. I still wake up at the same sort of time, unless I've got a flight to catch or something ridiculous. Then I'll set one. But generally, I know what my day's like, so I get up when I need to. You wake up in this state of heightened stress because it's what jump starts you. And then most of us will have a coffee, which doesn't necessarily play into that in a positive way, but it's fine. But now you're at this level of stress, right? That is the best time to start doing something to bring it back down. So let's say it's a breathing exercise, or you listen to the app, or whatever it is. I'll tell you why. Because what you're doing is from here, you're bringing it to a lower point. Then your day starts, and it will still go up, but it's going up from a much lower place. So you've got more capacity before it gets out of hand. I would then say 5 minutes breathing at lunchtime, literally 5 minutes before you eat, because it really improves digestion. If you're like this and you're eating, you get this lack of stomach acid production, lack of digestion. You get like, you're burping and like, oh, can't. If you just go before you eat and try and just like not be here for now, do your breathing exercise, that will work really well. It'll bring that stress back down again and give you a bit more capacity for the afternoon. And then in the evening, I'll do the same thing. And they can be 3 dots for 5 minutes. But I would say do it like you're getting paid for it. Because how much will you do then, right? If you're you'd go like, oh, I'll do hours of the stuff. Yeah, because that's where we should be naturally. If you look at any animal, they spend most of their time looking for food. That's all they're doing, right? I just want to survive, look for food, walking around, whatever it is. And this is always an example that you can relate to. So let's take a gazelle. They look around, they're munching on the grass, whatever. Lion comes along, or tiger, whatever it is. One's after them. They're like, all right, I'm out here. Instantly into sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Let's go. Assuming it doesn't get caught, it gets out of the way, danger's over. And what you see is they stop running. They go like this. They go, and for people who are not watching the video, they shake their head, right? Have a big exhale of breath, and then bang, they're back into parasympathetic. And that's where they stay. What we don't do is that shake it off. You got dogs, right?
I do, yes.
You know when they shake, when they like do that thing? That is them going into parasympathetic. It's releasing all the stress. You'll also notice with dogs and most animals, when they lay down to sleep or lay down to rest even, they'll get themselves comfortable and they'll go,
yeah.
And you go, oh, look, he's sighing. Look, he's not. It's just, he's putting himself into that parasympathetic. They do it all day, every day.
We've forgotten how to do that as animals ourselves.
And we've forgotten even what it feels like. Right? And so if you start getting into that, and that's like, say 15 minutes a day, I would say it's the bare minimum, and you're probably not even going to see much result from that. Me personally, this is how I set my day up, right? My week or life, whatever it is. And I'm going to say I'm fortunate, but I'm not, because I've done it purposely. I don't start work until midday, UK time. And I finish work at 5 p.m. UK time. And I work 5 days. No weekends, none of that nonsense. But that morning until midday is spent all about what I need to do for myself, whether it is so Mondays is going to be reformer Pilates, right? Because I want mobility and I want core strength and I want everything to be working as it should do. And then I'll do sauna. I'll sit, have something nice to eat, relax, green tea, let the day get ahead of itself. I'll answer a few emails, just start at and then 12 o'clock, I'll start opening the laptop and looking at what else needs to be done. Tuesday is a no training day. The morning, I have a call with the guy that I developed my business with, and I find that very exciting and relaxing because we get lots of traction in things. No business calls until past midday.
Okay.
I'll make food, I'll relax, sit in the garden, feet on the ground, all that kind of stuff, right? Wednesday, MMA training, And well, we warm up with table tennis because I love it. And it's great for the hand-eye coordination for old men.
Yeah.
MMA training, sauna, relax, chill, lunch, just come into the day nice and easy. And then MMA is not easy, but it's like stuff I want to do for myself. Again, the sauna, back to work. Thursday, depends on what I fancy doing. Probably going to be a weight training day, or weight training and maybe a bit of a HIIT training class just to blow the cobwebs out and do the training, which is always to failure. Very short, couple of sets per body part. Just keep the stimulus going, so I keep some size on me. Again, midday, start work, but it's all early, and then relax into that couple of hours before work, and then go to work. Friday, MMA again, same thing, sauna, away you go. Nothing Saturday, possibly Sunday morning, a little bit of weight training, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, just to failure. But then the weekend spent with the family, which is supposed to be relaxing, but I find it the most stressful thing ever. But anyway, and that's how I set my week up, right? And throughout the day, I will do at least 20 minutes to half an hour, twice, if not 3 times, if I've got the capacity, on the app to just make sure that I'm in the state I want to be in.
Right.
There's a really good thing on that app where it's creativity, and you listen to it while you're doing the stuff you want to do from a creative perspective. And it really helps get your brain in the right aspect. But it does it in a way that's not stressful. And it does it in a way that allows you not to get frustrated when you're doing what you're trying to do. Key elements, right? Because when you're really frustrated doing something, you become non-productive because you don't get it. It doesn't work. And you become really stressed. And that's the one where you end up throwing the laptop out the window. Yeah. And so does any of that matter? I think it does. It's a huge amount out of my week, but I don't see a better way of spending that time.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's why make sure that's your main job, and the thing that pays you is your side hustle. And sorry, Rob, and that allows me, when someone asks me 2 days beforehand, are you free on this day at this time to do a podcast? I can go, yeah, I can do that and not stress about it. Because I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I didn't have any really, idea what the flow was going to be. It didn't bother me. Whereas historically, I'd have been stressed. Go, what do I say? I've got to get something really good out here. If I don't, I'm going to miss an opportunity. It's like, not bothered. Because I think I know enough that whatever I say is going to be really useful for most people. And then just, chill, relax.
Well, we definitely appreciate you giving us your time. It's been, even to this day, I'm soaking it up like a sponge. There's always something new to learn, understand, and incorporate, which leads me on to my last topic, I guess. We've talked a lot about the importance of rest and recovery and regeneration. Let's switch gears now and talk about stress and the need for stress, particularly when we're training. And I want to talk about weight training. I've been weight training for the last more than half my life, since I was 15. I think I've done a pretty good job at it in terms of developing a physique, keeping my strength high, building muscle, maintaining a good amount of muscle with relatively low body fat levels, which leads me to our last conversation a few weeks back about, I think my question was, I've been eating a lot of food, 4,500 calories. I'm trying to get my weight up. I'm focusing a lot of efforts in the gym, but I've kind of plateaued now. I can't eat too much more food. I can't be exercising more. I'm trying to lift as heavy as I can. What are some of the key factors that maybe I can change? And we spoke about intensity, reducing the frequency, and also increasing the recovery. So I want to get onto that topic quickly about, I would say for men, specifically in their mid to late 30s, 40s and above, who probably do some form of exercising, but they need to change gears and do more, not more workouts, but do more in their workouts. And maybe more means less. So let's get on to that. For a 40-something-year-old man who wants to change their physique, they're lifting weights, they're eating good food, they're getting their sleep, but they're going, I'm still not seeing the results that I know could have got so many years ago. What other factors can I be looking at?
So 100% they're not recovering from the workout. They're overtraining.
Okay.
And they're not focusing on recovery, right? This whole topic today has been about stress, sleep, recovery, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're training, the goal, if you're looking to increase muscle mass, the goal is to create a point of failure, right? So mechanical failure in that contraction of the muscle. And most people don't go to that. They go like, oh yeah, that's hard. Or I'm getting a bit of a burn. Or I'm done now, thanks. It's not going to work, right? Because you have to stimulus that muscle to want to adapt. And if it's not doing something it couldn't do before, it has no reason to adapt. So you end up doing 20 sets on chest. 4 sets of flat, 4 sets of incline, 4 sets of flies, 4 sets of cables, 4 sets of pec deck. And then you go like, I'm not getting anywhere except tired and grumpy. Well, so long as you're going to failure on your reps and you don't need to do many because you can't, you've done enough to stimulate adaptation. That adaptation happens when you are recovering. So if you do chest on a Monday and then go back in on Wednesday and do it again, and you went to failure on Monday, all you're doing is preventing the adaptation because you've gone back in and taken what was a stimulus and then just broken it again. And so now it has to start again to repair. And that happens on a regular cycle with most people. So they go in too early. They don't give it enough rest. It's the weirdest thing. If you train to failure, so do one warm-up set, maybe do one more moderately heavy set, and then 1 set to failure. So maybe 2 or 3 total sets on a thing. I go 1 warm-up set, 1 set to failure. That's it, right? And I just don't have the time or the inclination, and it gives me what I need. And then I'll just rest because I don't want to hit that body part again for at least a week, right? And I'm busy, right? I'm doing lots of other workouts and different things.
Sure.
And so they all compromise stuff. So I just need to give it as much time as possible. And when that happens, my size either stays as it is or shows improvement. And if I try and do something more than that, I don't get any change in anything. And it just won't happen because you're just not allowing that adaptation. So if you're 40 plus, one, reduce the volume, but make sure what you're doing is to failure. And then really focus on leaving it as long as possible for the muscle to repair and grow, and then go back in and do it again. So one body part once a week. So chest once a week, back once a week, legs once a week, maybe legs every 2 weeks if you've really annihilated them. Abs you can do on a regular basis because they don't have that recovery. They haven't got you're not building abs, and talking to you about abs is pointless, right? So you can, you've forgotten more than I'll ever know about abs, but and making sure that what you're doing in between times doesn't mean you have to recover from it. So again, right, if you're having days where you're not doing weight training, but you're doing something else, like Pilates, for example, right, for me, or if I'm doing a HIIT training class I don't need to recover muscle-wise from, it doesn't encumber that growth process. So less is more when you do the intensity, when you go to failure, and then chill and feed it, right? Make sure you're feeding it properly. And then you'll see that your gains or your improvements will be noticeable. And I don't know if you're going to put that last thing that we spoke about out on content at some point, but within 2 weeks, it was noticeably different for you. And you are somebody who has trained over half his life, consistent. You're not a newbie that gets newbie gains, and all of a sudden, right? This is someone that trains, diligently and has done for years. And all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, you made a difference to your physique. It's really hard to do, but it shows when you do the right thing, you can get really good results.
Yeah. Point out what those changes were. People watching this and going, he's taken, or what's changed. The only things I've changed really in the last decades, certainly years, have been my focus and commitment to sleep, making sure that I am in bed, falling asleep by 10:30, 11 at the latest. And I do that by putting myself into a state where the lights are off. Sure, I might watch TV, TV's on, but that goes off by 10:30. I'm already feeling tired. I have it pretty chilled in the room. I have no natural light coming in. My body is starting to kind of feel tired. And it's just, by the time my head hits the pillow, 5-10 minutes, I'm out. And I'm giving myself 8 hours of sleep. That's probably been the biggest factor here. The second biggest one is my focus in the gym, training. I think it's safe to say that in terms of the focus on hypertrophy and seeing a noticeable change in our bodies getting more lean muscle mass, not just getting fitter, not losing weight, but developing our bodies. So I would say for most men, certainly when I was growing up, we want to look in the mirror and be like, we've got a chest, we've got some shoulders, we see our arms. Bodybuilding aside, but that's what we are doing. We are building our body. And I think that's the most effective way of strategizing our workouts is muscle-specific workouts taken to failure with a quick approach to progressively overloading the muscle. So yes, we need weight. We've got to be lifting heavy weights within that, 8 to 12 rep range, maybe a little bit higher for legs, but 2 sets, 3 at most. If we're going to warm up an all-out set and then a sort of, whether we're doing drop sets or, slow eccentric, something to really keep that stress high on the muscle, and then allowing enough rest. So this sort of one muscle group, a workout, I think is the most effective for building muscle. And I've been doing that with less volume. Whereas before I'd go in chest, 4 or 5 different exercises, hour and a half in. But the thing I was not optimizing was I was spending too long pushing weights instead of getting to failure quickly and then moving on and allowing that rest. We both use cars as some great analogies. I've always looked at it. I think I said this in the workshop years ago. It's like getting into a car on a racetrack and getting up to top speed. And normally we would go through all the gears and go through the revs. I mean, these days, electric cars they have that power right on. And maybe that's a good example. We get in the car now, so we go into the gym. Yeah, we warm up, get our joints kind of mobilized, feeling good. And then, bang, top speed. And it's like getting in an EV car, electric vehicle, putting our foot down and just feeling that power. And I would equate that to what we need to do in the gym. Focus on the workout, get in there, get to failure quickly, move on, 2-3 sets at most, or 3 exercises at most, and then give ourselves enough rest for our body to recuperate, recover, grow in order to do it again. My final question to you, Paul. So I know you've got a lot going on with your day still over in England. My final question is the importance of lean muscle mass, regardless of age. Somebody who could be in their 20s, somebody who could be in their 70s or 80s. What would you say to them if, we're putting out, we need to weight train, you need to maintain a decent amount of lean muscle mass. And I know a lot of the times, maybe more so women, not so much now, which is great. We often hear, but I don't want to get too big. I don't want to look bulky, which is very hard to do. What would you say to them? I'm sorry. I can relate to that too. I can't get bulky, and I've been eating and training a lot. What would you say is the most important factor to our quest for maintaining lean muscle mass?
You know what? It's get the biggest bang for your buck. And what that means is do the minimal effective dose. So like we said, train to failure, give yourself rest, short workouts, don't need to be more than 40, 45 minutes probably, and you can get everything done. And I'll tell you why. If you're doing massive workouts, not recovering, all the things that we've talked about, whilst muscle mass is important, as you get older, growing muscle mass means you have to increase something called muscle protein synthesis and IGF-1. And both of those are aging. So you'll find that people who live the longest have got low levels of muscle protein synthesis and IGF-1. But at the same time, you don't want to be frail, right? You don't want to fall over, break a hip and game's up. So you have to give your minimum effective dose, right? So you're like, right, go in, do the training you need to do, don't go crazy and overdo it, and then get out, recover, and get on with your life. And I don't care if you're 20 or 90. If you can do that without too much tipping over into a more aging mechanism, right? So less of the muscle protein synthesis, IGF-1, because you've done what you need, gone in and you've recovered, you'll be able to still train, be fit, well, healthy, mobile, active, right into your later life. Because it's that sarcopenia, right? That muscle wastage as people get older that causes death. Because it causes frailty. It causes falls and breakages. And then people very rarely recover from those sort of things. You'll hear it a lot, especially with women. They'll fall, broke a hip, and they were never the same again. And within 8 months, they'd passed away. And so for me, it's about, that shouldn't be your main focus in life. Get it done, minimum effective dose. Make sure you've got a good amount of muscle mass on you that's functional, and then start working your stress management, start working on your mitochondria, your toxicity, start working on your brain function, make sure that you've got your hormones are balanced and everything else is working well, and then start enjoying life. Instead of going, oh, what am I going to eat this afternoon? Oh my God, I've missed that workout. I can't have that apple now. Shit, what am I going to, that is something that's come about in the last 10 years that's been, I think, more destructive, because people just want to push the envelope, and then they'll see bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders, who are taking lots of drugs and steroids and whatnot, and try and emulate what they're doing, and it's just not a good look. It causes a lot of problems, and longevity is something that's real. If you don't get there, there's plenty of bodybuilders you hear 26, 28 years old dying, heart attacks and all sorts, and they look great, but not so much when they're not there anymore. So, just think long and hard about what's really important. And you've been the example of that, right? Is I keep myself routine, I keep myself dedicated, I eat well, I train well, get my sleep right, and I'm trying what I can to optimize my life and continue me doing this. And then people look at you and go, I want to look like that. That's what I want. Because they think the look represents health. But there's lots of people who look like that are not healthy, right? And you kind of managed to balance both parts of it. And I think, as you go on, you'll continue. And, your 40s, I think into your 50s as well, you're going to be, you've got the ability because you've got the work ethic. But if that work ethic has the right strategy, then you will really see lots and lots of results coming from it. And I've got no intention of stopping what I'm doing, and I'm 60 next year. And I'm just warming up. I'm not going properly yet. So I've got no thoughts about, should I start easing off a bit? Or maybe I should take up darts or something. I'm not interested in that. I want to be active and well, because I've got one young child, and I've got other children that are grown up, but one very young one, and I need to be around when she grows up. And so I'm not stopping anytime soon.
You said something that I think summarizes everything that we've talked about on this episode: work ethic and the right strategy. Yep. And I think those two, a lot of people can relate to. We often hear people talking about, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm very hardworking. I'm very committed. I go to the gym. I eat well. That's their work ethic.
Yeah.
But maybe what's missing is the right strategy for them at their time in their life, with what they're dealing with life and what their goals are.
100%.
And I think that's so important. So, Paul,
but also, if you have the right strategy, then that work ethic doesn't become stressful. Right? The work ethic doesn't mean committing 100, all the time, work. I'll just do more. It means I've got the right strategy, so I can put in the minimum amount of work ethic because I need to, and be consistent. I'm done.
Yeah, I would equate that to a marathon runner who's been training a long time. They have the right strategy for rest, improved time, their endurance levels. Is they're essentially just putting one successful footstep in front of another successful footstep. And they're able to do that without much stress and without much wear on their body, because they've got the right strategy, they've got the right approach to their training, And I think we can all take a lot from discussion today. Paul,
Yeah.
I'm going to include a lot of your links to the work that you do for people to reach out. I know you offer a really great thing, which is a strategy call. Is that correct?
Yeah,
If you have
Free
questions,
consult. Jump on 30 minutes. I'll talk about anything I don't mind. I'm not fussed.
I will.
I like talking to people.
Hey, I might jump on and we talk about F1. I'd love to just talk more about that. But that's another topic for another conversation. Paul, thank you for your time. I found this hugely beneficial to me. I'm sure a lot of people just with general questions or questions that they weren't aware that they needed to be asking, that now they can start looking more internally and going, where is my stress? I can give myself a little bit more time. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before they eat, and at evening, 15 minutes total, just to bring that parasympathetic stress level down to get a much greater benefit from that. Improved sleep, improved recovery, their focus of these short, effective workouts in the gym, all of those little pieces of the puzzle that they can start to improve upon, I think will bring the bigger picture up and let people feel healthier, fitter, stronger, more aware, and just like you said, enjoy life a little bit more for longer. That's what our Healthspan is
That's
about.
the key.
Maintaining that longevity, but with adequate life for us to be able to function, put our shoes on into our 60s and 70s, cook for ourselves. And we want to be able to do that for as long as possible with probably a pretty steep decline at the end rather than this slow descent for decades. Yeah.
You don't want to suffer and be just kept alive on meds and all the crap that comes with that. You want to be able to live the health span is the word, right? Not lifespan, but health span.
Yep.
And then, like you say, when you get to the end of it, you go, like, I'm good now. I'm good to go. I'm finished. But not, please make this end because of the suffering is terrible. Right. There's a big difference in how that ends. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you again for your time. I'll be in touch more about the results that we're getting from that. And like you said, I'm in my early 40s now. I'm only just getting started, I feel. I mean, the last 20 years, I made some great gains. I'm as excited, as passionate as I have been forever. Competitions and all of the great experiences I've had behind, but I feel I'm even more adequately adept now to take on board all of these different factors and really start to make some strides with not just maintaining, but improving my physique, my mental capacity, my health span for the next so many decades. So thank you for being a part of that. And thank you for being on the show. I can't wait to chat with you more.
Good. See you soon.
All right. Take care, Paul. Bye-bye. Oh, beautiful. Amazing. I'm going to stop the recording. I know you